What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT, here with my reactions to the NFL Sunday Divisional Round action. We'll start off talking about the first game of the day. The Patriots beat the Texans 28-16. This game was always going to be decided by which quarterback took better care of the football. Both of these teams had very good defenses. The Texans had debatably the best defense in football. You're either taking them or Seattle. They do a very good job at suffocating you. You have a hard time moving the ball on them with how good their secondary is. You can't run on them that easy. And in the red zone, it's very hard to walk away with touchdowns if you're even able to get into the red zone against this Texans defense. The Patriots defense, though, woke the entire world up since they don't have a lot of household names. Their defense doesn't get the respect that it deserves. For the majority of this season, the Patriots defense has been seen as good enough when truly it's been a top 10 defense. And you don't need to have a Seattle Seahawks or Houston Texans kind of defense to win a championship. As long as your defense is able to get off the field on third down, they're able to come away with a few turnovers, that's good enough for you. CJ Stroud costed the Houston Texans this game. He had a ridiculous 4 interceptions in this game. And Drake May, he had a few turnovers as well, but when you have 4 interceptions, despite how good your defense may be, it's hard to win a game when you're that bad taking care of the ball. And a lot of CJ Stroud's interceptions weren't the defensive back jumping the route, making a good play on the ball. It was CJ Stroud throwing balls behind the receivers, him trying to force a play that wasn't there to be made. CJ Stroud is still a very solid quarterback. Is he an elite quarterback? No. I feel right now CJ Stroud is in the recalibration phase of his career. He was so good his first season in the league that the expectations, the bar that he set was so high, it was going to be hard for him to reach that level again. CJ Stroud was a top 5 quarterback in his rookie season. You can joke about him claiming himself as a top 5 quarterback, but he truly was that good. For the majority of his rookie season before he got injured, he was an MVP candidate. And when you come into the league and you perform at that high of a level, the bar kind of gets set insanely high for you. The expectations get a little bit unrealistic in the sense. CJ Stroud, he's not able to match the success that he had when he first came into the league. And that has somewhat overshadowed how solid he's been as a quarterback overall. I feel right now, CJ Stroud is a top 13, top 12-ish quarterback. You can win a Super Bowl with CJ Stroud if you have a good situation for him, which the Texans are 90% there. The only thing they have to address this offseason is the offensive line. The offensive line of the Texans has been a main problem for CJ Stroud's regression. His rookie season, the offensive line wasn't that great, but at least you had somebody like a Laremy Tunsil. Although he did give up a lot of penalties, he didn't give up a lot of sacks nor a lot of pressures. So you lose him and you try to replace him with a random in free agency. That obviously didn't work. The Texans haven't invested enough into their offensive line. That's what they should. When you have a young quarterback that came into the league with so much promise as CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud doesn't suck. His rookie season has set the expectations so high that with him not being able to exceed them or at least meet them halfway, you overlook how the first 3 years he's been in the league, he's led the Texans to the playoffs every single season. He's also won a playoff game every time he's been in the postseason. CJ Stroud was shaped back next season when the Texans improved the offensive line this offseason. It's the only thing they have to do in order to make themselves a surefire Super Bowl contender going into next season. This isn't one of those cases where we anointed CJ Stroud too early and he since has dropped off so dramatically he'll never be able to look like an elite quarterback again. Playing quarterback in the NFL comes with a lot of peaks and valleys. There's a lot of highs and there's a good amount of lows. Take Jared Goff, for example. When Jared Goff had success his first 2 years under Sean McVay, he was viewed as the elite quarterback. And then after, his play started to go down. He was struggling in the playoffs. Defenses started to get a better understanding of what his strengths were, how to make him get off of what he did best and play into his weaknesses. And eventually he got traded for Matthew Stafford to the Detroit Lions. And since being in Detroit, Jared Goff has gone on to since resurrected his career. CJ Stroud very much could do the same thing that we saw Jared Goff do. I'm not saying CJ Stroud is going to get traded, nor should the Texans even entertain the idea of trading CJ Stroud. But let's not switch up on CJ Stroud and treat him like he's some bum. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. This dude outplayed Justin Herbert in the playoffs for 2 straight seasons. I don't see anybody on social media saying how the Chargers need to trade Justin Herbert, how Justin Herbert should have gotten benched when he was stinking it up against the New England Patriots. Like, CJ Stroud is going to be perfectly fine. He just had 2 bad playoff games. One, the Texans were able to win because of how good their defense was and how bad the Steelers sucked on offense. And the second game, he just tried to do too much. He tried to put that cape on. He tried to be Superman when he didn't need to be Superman, since Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson was Superman. The Patriots are showing why strength of schedule doesn't matter in the NFL. It was always silly to me how folks would knock the Patriots and how good they were this season because, they didn't play a lot of good teams. They haven't really played anybody. You are what your record says you are in the NFL. If you win your division, you have one of the best records in your conference. You're one of the best teams entering the playoffs. You're not a fraud because you only played a handful of good teams. The Rams haven't played a bunch of good teams outside of their division. Not every team that wins a Super Bowl goes through a gauntlet schedule to do so. That doesn't mean you diminish how good the team is. You're only as good as the guys that you have on your schedule. The Patriots can't pick their schedule, and strength of schedule has always been overrated to me as far as trying to use it to assess how good a team is. Because coming into the season, a team could have the toughest schedule in the league on paper. And then once you get to the end of the season, what's supposed to be a difficult schedule proves to be an easy schedule because teams that were expected to be good, that were expected to be playoff teams, ended up being disappointments, whether that be due to underachieving, a bunch of injuries. Strength of schedule in the NFL doesn't matter when determining how far a team can go in the postseason. The 2 most important things that matter in the playoffs is coaching and how well you take care of the football. If you have 2 of those things figured out, you can go as far as anybody in the postseason, because that's what really matters the most. So all these analytic heads, these stat nerds, these statisticians that were bashing the Patriots because, they haven't played nobody. I heard Cam Newton a few weeks ago trying to say the same thing. This isn't college football. Your strength of schedule doesn't matter in the NFL. In the NFL, literally everybody is a good team in the sense, because the talent differential in the NFL is a lot smaller than what it is in college football. There's a difference between Alabama playing FAMU versus the Patriots playing the New York Jets. Yeah, they're a way more talented team than the Jets, but the talent differential isn't as wide in the NFL as what it is in college football. If I would have told you that the Panthers were only going to lose to the Rams by less than a touchdown, would you have believed me before that game kicked off? No, because you perceive the Rams to be a more superior team in every facet, from the way their roster is constructed, the fact that they have Sean McVay on their team coaching, and yet they almost lost that game. So it really doesn't matter how many good teams you be in, how tough or how easy your schedule was. Once you get into the playoffs, the only thing that matters is coaching, taking care of the football, and making sure that you're playing your best at the most important time of the year. The Rams survive again. They beat the Chicago Bears 20-17. They overcome the Icemen. They escape the Cardiac Bears and advance to play the Seattle Seahawks in the NFC Championship for the third time this season. The Rams haven't played their best football in the playoffs. Let's just keep it 100. Matthew Stafford still looks very off. Maybe it's his thumb injury. Maybe it was him playing in the cold weather in Chicago. The Rams offensive line didn't do him no favors. They allowed him to get sacked 4 times. Their interior offensive line was really bad. Like Grady Jarrett, do you guys remember him? He's been with the Atlanta Falcons for the majority of his career. I forgot that he got signed by the Chicago Bears in free agency. He was making plays. What bailed the Rams out in this game was how well their secondary played. Their defense came away with 3 very big interceptions, especially their final interception where you had the miscommunication between Caleb Williams and DJ Moore. And that stop there is what ultimately won the Rams this game. Sean McVay also hasn't really coached his best in the playoffs this year. There were a lot of conservative play calls out of Sean McVay, just playing it safe. You normally don't see Sean McVay play it safe that often. He normally is pretty aggressive in his play calls, but these last 2 playoff games, he has just played not to lose instead of playing to win. And of course, you're not going to criticize it that much since the Rams are in the NFC Championship. But again, this is the NFC Championship. And you can get a few mad problems right, solving them using the wrong methods to get the answer. But eventually, when the problems become more complex, then your way that you've gone about getting the answers that was wrong, that was still giving you the right answers, is no longer going to work. The Rams, the way they played against the Panthers and the Bears in these 2 playoff games, is not going to help them beat the Seattle Seahawks. To beat the Seattle Seahawks, Sean McVay has to be on his A game. You're going up against the best defensive mind in the game right now. And we just saw what Mike McDonald did to Kyle Shanahan, not once but twice, boxed up his offense, held them to only 3-6 points and no touchdowns on the board. And the Seahawks could very well do the same thing to the Rams that they did to the 49ers the 2 times that they played them. They're playing their best football. They're peaking at the right time. The Rams, can you say that this is a team that's playing their best? Can you say that this is a team that's peaking? Because I can't. The good thing about the Rams is they know how to win a close game. And that's what championship teams have to do. I'm not saying the Rams need to blow out everybody. They need to annihilate everybody. You can have a close win and still not have conservative play calling, be concerned about Matthew Stafford. How good is he going to play with the injury that he's currently trying to overcome with his thumb, the offensive line getting destroyed up front? These are very valid issues to have about the Rams going up against a Seahawks team that right now, they look like the favorites to win it all. They're a mismatch for anybody. They're a mismatch for the Rams, for one, with how good their defensive line is and the struggles that we saw the Rams have against the Bears. The Seahawks could give him even more problems. What about the secondary? Yeah, you play good against the Bears, but are you going to be able to have that same level of play against Sam Darnold? Are you going to be good at stopping the run? offensively, like I really am concerned about the Rams going up against Seattle in the NFC Championship, excuse me, because they just haven't really looked that well oiled as what they were looking like for the majority of this season. The Chicago Bears, the sky is the limit for what this franchise can do with Caleb Williams at quarterback. His fourth down throw to send this game to overtime was the most OD throw in the history of the NFL. That play right there is why the Bears took him first overall, why he got all those Patrick Mahomes comparisons, because you see a lot of Patrick Mahomes-esque qualities in Caleb Williams with what he does off platform, making the complicated throws look routine with ease. Caleb Williams made a throw to send this game to overtime that probably only one or two other quarterbacks in the league right now have the talent and the ability to pull off. This dude has a phenomenal arm and outstanding arm talent. And there's a difference between arm strength and arm talent. Arm strength is how far you can push the football. How much velocity can you throw the football with? Arm talent is your ability to throw the football from different body angles, from different areas of the field. Caleb Williams has the best arm talent in the NFL, and it's not even close. The amount of throws that he can make off platform from different body angles is second to none. Nobody else, even Patrick Mahomes, can't make some of the throws that we've seen Caleb Williams make this season. Ben Johnson with Caleb Williams would be like if Kyle Shanahan got his hands on Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, somebody of that caliber. That's the ceiling that Caleb Williams has that he hasn't even come close to reaching. His second season was a huge step in the right direction, but we haven't even came close to seeing Caleb Williams play near his potential, because this is just a little bit of an appetizer for what's to come out of Caleb Williams under Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson has already cemented himself as one of the best head coaches in the league. I told you guys a few months ago, back in the offseason, that Ben Johnson was going to come to Chicago, kick ass and take names, and immediately win a division. Oh, it's too soon to say that. We haven't seen anything out of Ben Johnson. Look how much the Detroit Lions dropped off on offense this year. You don't have that big of a drop-off with the talent that the Lions have. If losing Ben Johnson wasn't as impactful as what it was, you could see a huge difference between the Lions offensively this year and last year of how they call plays, how they set up certain plays throughout the game for big plays. Ben Johnson is in that same realm as a Sean McVay, a Kyle Shanahan, as far as innovative offensive minds go. And in his second season with Caleb Williams next year, you're really going to start to see him dial it up a notch, because he somewhat had to take the first part of the season to learn Caleb Williams, to adapt his play calling to Caleb Williams' strengths. Now, next season, you're going to see him completely open things up. We could see Caleb Williams win MVP his second season under Ben Johnson next year, because the sky is the limit for how good Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams are going to be with each other. There's nothing wrong with Ben Johnson's fourth down aggressiveness either. It's easy to criticize his decisions to go for it on fourth down instead of settling for 3 when the team loses. But you weren't criticizing Ben Johnson's fourth down decision-making when the Bears beat the Packers in the first round of the playoffs. It's so short-sighted to judge coaching decisions after the game is over. Because if the Bears didn't have the same amount of aggressiveness in the playoffs as what they had throughout this season, they wouldn't have even gotten this far. Once you get to the playoffs, you got to stay true to your identity. You got to stay true to who you are. And what the Bears are a team that, if it's 4th and 5 or shorter, depending on if we're on the 50 or anywhere after, we're going to go for it. You don't just say we're going to end up settling for field goals. We're just going to play it safe when that's not the team that you've been all year long. If you're going to lose a football game, you're going to lose it playing into what you do well. You're going to lose it playing to who you are. And what the Bears are is a team that takes a lot of chances. They take a lot of risks. Oftentimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Hell, you can say that some of the throws that Caleb Williams has pulled off this season were huge risks. There are about 5% of quarterbacks in the league that could make the plays that we've seen Caleb Williams make late in these games in the fourth quarter routinely. So when you have a quarterback that has a risky skill set, of course, your head coach is kind of going to embody that himself with his play calling. His play calling is very innovative. It's very aggressive. I don't have any issue with Ben Johnson's fourth down decision making. In hindsight, yeah, if he could go back and settle for 3 in some of those fourth down situations, he probably would do so. But it's easy to say that after the game is over if the team loses. If the Bears would have won this game, Caleb Williams never throws that third interception trying to target DJ Moore. We're not having this conversation about Ben Johnson's fourth down aggressiveness. I have no issue with coaches being overzealous in fourth down situations. I have no issue when Dan Campbell does it. A lot of people seem to do, but this is my philosophy when it comes to fourth down, right? I don't care what side of the field we're on. We could be 4th and 1 on our own 9-yard line. We have to go for it on 4th and 1. All you got to do is call the freaking tush push. My issue with Ben Johnson's fourth down decision making wasn't his aggressiveness to go for it. It was his play calling, because there were so many 4th and 1s, short yardage situations that the Bears were in on 4th down, and Ben Johnson not called the most efficient play in that situation, which is the tush push. He didn't call it until later on in the game. I'm like, Ben Johnson, it's 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. Put Caleb Williams underneath center and shove the brother forward for 1 yard. It's just 1 yard. Why were you trying to pitch it to the outside? Why were you trying to run outside zone runs? Let's just do the tush push. Even if you know it's coming, you can't stop it. That was my whole thing with Ben Johnson's fourth down decisions. It wasn't more so the decisions to go for it. It was the decisions to not go for the tush push. The Eagles and the Bills got it right. 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. We're not going to overcomplicate it. We're just going to put our quarterback underneath center and shove him forward. And then occasionally we'll hit you with, a fake tush push. We'll pitch it to the outside. We'll run a sweep, or we'll run our quarterback to the left or right instead of the middle. Like, there's a lot of creativity that you can have with the tush push. So I don't have an issue with Ben Johnson's fourth down aggressiveness. I just feel like it's lame to try to critique a coach's aggressiveness after the game when they lose, when if they would have won, you wouldn't have been bringing it up.